with coverage you can count on. This is the Erie News NOWCAST.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Kristen Allen. Thanks for joining us for tonight's edition of the Erie News NOWCAST. It was a murder that shook the community recently. A woman shot and killed by her ex-boyfriend after he broke into her home. And tonight, friends, family, the religious community, and neighbors gathered to remember the life of 55-year-old Amy Hoffer during a vigil outside of her home on Lincoln Avenue in Erie. That's where her ex-boyfriend broke in back in August, confronted her, shot, and then killed her. He then turned the gun on himself, according to Erie police. Tonight's Take Back the Site vigil, hosted by area nuns, is a way to reclaim a site of violence. But tonight was also about showing support for victims of domestic violence.
If it can happen to someone like Amy, who is so very loved by all of the community members and her family, it can happen to you. And I think that you need to pay attention to your gut, pay attention to what they've done in the past, reach out for help, talk to people at SafeNet, talk about safety.
And we also spoke with the family of Amy Hoffer tonight. More from their story on Erie News Now at 11. And tonight's vigil comes on the day we learned that the cause of Gabby Potito's death. According to the autopsy report, Potito died by strangulation. The report estimates Potito's time of death to be about 3 to 4 weeks from the time her body was discovered back on September 30th. Law enforcement officials are still searching for the 22-year-old's fiancé, Brian Laundrie. He's a person of interest in her disappearance. Changing gears now, in Erie County, local community centers continue to offer free COVID-19 testing, hoping to detect the virus before people can pass it on. Every Tuesday, a test clinic is set up at the Booker T. Washington Center along Holland Street in Erie. UPMC Hammett staff was there in full PPE. The free test itself takes less than 30 seconds, and results come in about 2 days.
MCIC, the Minority Community Investment Coalition, and we're going to continue to provide services and resources to the community in regards to this COVID-19 as long as we possibly can.
The Booker T. Washington Center, along with the MLK and JFK centers, have certain days for testing every week. And you might soon be able to get booster shots of the Johnson & Johnson or Moderna vaccines. The FDA released today briefing material, but it didn't take a stance on Moderna boosters. Scientists said some studies suggest the Moderna vaccine weakens over time, but other studies suggest it remains just as strong. They say right now the 2 doses of Moderna seem to protect well against severe disease and hospitalization, but those findings are not a recommendation. The FDA's advisory committee meets Thursday, and it has the authority to recommend boosters despite the briefing material. The Skunk Goat Tavern reopened today after closing for a couple of weeks because of COVID-19. The owners of the Northeast staple say they're excited to reopen, and the restaurant will resume with its usual hours of 11 to 9. They say they closed at the start of the month out of an abundance of caution, but once staff members tested negative for the virus, they started planning their reopening.
Being down, 10 plus days, that hurts the business definitely. I mean, our hearts went out for our employees that they weren't able to come to work that last week or so, but just, this COVID-19 pandemic, it's very serious, so we wanted to, take the right precautions to make sure that everybody was healthy upon returning to work.
And all staff, regardless of vaccination status, were required to test negative before coming back to work. And in Erie County, average daily cases are now squarely in the triple digits, with the county reporting 124 new cases today. As the problem worsens in our area, local hospitals are seeing an increase in cases, though they're handling the influx, at least so far. The county executive and several local doctors are hosting a news conference tomorrow at 3, discussing the worsening state of COVID-19 in Erie County. And in Warren County, the battle over school masks continue. But it appears a final decision on the school district's policy is still at least a week away. A group of parents are suing the school district, saying its optional mask policy puts students at risk. A federal judge reinstated a mask mandate last week, and this week the judge granted a continuance, delaying the case for at least another week. The extra time gives the sides a chance to settle out of court, but if they don't, the case will continue with a preliminary hearing set for next Tuesday. And so far, Erie County has about 20,000 mail-in ballots for the upcoming municipal election. But there's conflicting information in the mailing about whether voters need to put postage on their ballots. Today, our Lisa Adams got some answers.
Wondering how conflicting information could end up in and outside your mail-in ballot envelope for the November 2nd municipal election? Well, basically, voters used to cover the postage for absentee ballots. That was waived in year one of the new mail-in option. County election officials decided to waive it this time, too, but not before the ballot materials were sent to the printer. So the yellow instructions say to be sure to include postage. And on the outer envelope, there's also a box saying put your stamp here. But where the envelope is pre-addressed, it says no postage stamp necessary. Postage has been prepaid by Erie County Board of Elections. Here's all you need to know: whether returning your ballot by mail, taking it to the election office, or putting it in the drop box, it doesn't need a stamp to be counted.
I know that people are very concerned that their ballot is accepted, and we understand that. So, we just want to make sure people know that in spite of those incorrect instructions, they can be assured that postage is taken care of for this election, and that their ballot will get to us. Even if they were to put a stamp on it, it will still get to us either way.
And you can apply for a mail-in ballot through October 26th, and you, of course, can always vote in person. The deadline to register to vote is October 18th. And Governor Tom Wolf paid a visit to Erie today to promote Pennsylvania's plan to expand pre-kindergarten services throughout the state. Governor Wolf met with children and staff at the Gilson Child Development Center in Erie today. Over the past year and a half, the pandemic has shined a light on the critical need for affordable child care, which many parents rely on to get to work. So Governor Wolf spoke about his administration's investment in early childhood education, which includes increased funding for pre-K expansion by $30 million.
Families are finding it very hard to get child care, and early childhood education is a barrier to our getting ourselves back on the economic track. And part of the reason, I think, is because we don't provide enough resources for places like CDC. We need to do a better job.
There's now $655 million available in American Rescue Plan funding that'll be used to stabilize the early education sector. Licensed child care providers can apply for one-time grants, which can be used to cover any expenses. And as local businesses deal with shipping delays and shortages, the community is stepping up to help. Last week, we told you about a supply shortage affecting local flower shops, making it hard to get items like flowers, ribbons, and vases. When local florist Gary Moss started feeling the pinch, he reached out to customers on Facebook, asking them to drop off unused vases. And in less than a month, he's collected nearly 1,000 of them, helping him to stay in business while showing the selflessness that makes the Erie community so special.
Erie's got the heart of gold, and anytime there's a problem or anything like this, they always step up to the plate. So God bless us all.
And Moss says not only does he get the vases he needs, but as an added bonus, he gets to meet people, be it longtime customers dropping off vases, or people he's never even met simply stepping in to help a neighbor. Well, that does it for this edition of the Erie News Nowcast. Thanks for joining us. Join us for our next news at 10 p.m. on the CW and 11 p.m. on WICU and WSCE. Have a great night.